Hello, this is Ahmed, and in this video we will be going over our project Slimy Souls for COM 4300. I worked with Kamrin, Josh and Yahia on this game, and our game is basically a top-down view dungeon crawler roguelike game where the goal is to kill the enemies in your way to find a key to the boss's room, defeat the final boss, and you would win the game. We have 3 pre-built levels, level 1, 2 and 3. I will be going over a quick demo for level 1, showing what the game is like, trying to cover as many features as possible, and after that we will go over the level editor and the menus, and we will cover any missed features at the end. So as soon as I spawn into the room, you can see my character has simple movement, and I can use my weapon, which is a sword, to hit on the right and left directions. My weapon is shown in the inventory at the bottom left here. At the top left you can see my health, and you can also see torches here have a lighting effect. So if I go down, the camera moves to a new room. This room has a bunch of chests that I can open. When I open a chest, a random item drops, and these items drop using a gravity system. So this is our implementation of gravity system. They also have shades and they also have shadows, and my character also has a shadow. So this is an axe which replaces my sword as a melee weapon. There is also scrolls or spells that get equipped in the 2 scroll slots down here. So this is a poison scroll. If I shoot it, it shows 3 projectiles that spawn poisonous gas that damages enemies over time and gives them a status effect. I can also equip this scroll here, which is a frost scroll. It freezes enemies, and as you can see, I can move around while holding it. And this is a fire scroll that is very similar, but it burns enemies and gives them a burning status effect. So if I try to equip an item that I already have, it's going to tell me a prompt that I already have that. If I try to pick up a heart while I'm already at full health, it's going to tell me. So there's a few instructions that are helpful basically. If I want to pick this scroll while I'm not holding a scroll, it's going to tell me that I need to equip a scroll so that I can switch my current scroll with a new one, because you have a maximum of 2. So these are a few dialogues that are helpful that show up. So here I have a bunch of enemies. There is a few slimes, a wither that shoots at me, and a knight. You can see the poisonous status effect on them. This is the fire status effect from the spells. So if I move into the next room here, we have moving tiles. This is our implementation of it, which is basically spiky blocks that damages you if you touch them. And here is a good chance to show ray casting. So if I move or if enemies have clear line of sight on me, they are going to approach me and try to attack me. Otherwise they go back to their locations. So as long as I'm hiding here behind this wall, I can safely shoot them with spells from afar, or I can just go in and kill them with my spells. This is another dialogue. If you are in the middle of fighting, you can't really open chests. So I'm going to pick up the key here, which now allows me to access the final boss's room. So if I go the other direction, which would be the final boss's room, I can basically continue going there. I should also demonstrate the use of melee weapons. So melee weapons basically work this way. Damages the enemy, and it shows the red indicator when the enemy is taking damage, just like that. So this room here has a bunch of chests that also will drop random loot. So right here is the boss's room, which would normally show me a dialogue saying that this room requires a key, but now I do have the key, so I can go in here. So that was a cutscene that we implemented as our way of a different camera system movement from the normal room traversing one. So the final boss has a bunch of attacks. This is his dash attacks, where he flashes twice and tries to attack me. He also has another attack which is this one, where he flashes in different random areas in the room and then shoots poisonous gas at them. He also had a third attack in his second phase, which I will hopefully be reaching soon. So we can start using some spells on him to try to damage him. A bit of a heart to heal up. So when he dashes, he has a 25% chance of dashing again immediately without going to a new location. So this is his second attack, since we are in the second phase, or sorry, his third attack, since we entered the second phase here, where he spawns slime around the room. So this can get overwhelming if the slime keeps spawning more, which he is doing again right now. So I'll try to avoid them and try to use my spells to kill them off. Try to punish him a bit. Need to be careful. This is getting intense. As you can see, my character shows when it's at a very low health, so I'm going to try and play very safe so that I can actually manage to kill him without dying, which I thankfully did. So he drops his crown, and if I kill this enemy here without having it kill me first, that was a bit of an overkill, but if I go to the crown here, it's gonna say I don't think I can wear that. So our idea of progression was that after killing the final boss, you would enter a room here or a door that will take you to the next level, basically. And we are on the way to implement that. We actually implemented the game over or game completed menu, view, but we ran out of time trying to integrate that. So this is so far what we have. I hope you enjoyed it. We will continue the video by looking at the level editor and any missed features.
Hello, I'm going to be talking about the level editor in our Slimy Souls game. So we have two options to go to the level editor. When we click Start Game, we can either click Play Level, which is going to load the created level, or Edit Level, which is going to edit the existing level already saved. For right now, we're going to start a new level in the level editor in the main menu. Once we go in here, it's going to load a default room arrangement. We have 3 preset room arrangements you can choose, which are based off of our levels 1, 2, and 3. And these levels are predefined because of having these walls. We need the player to be confined. We shouldn't be allowing the player to essentially build invalid rooms with holes in the walls and things like that. We want to maintain the integrity of the room layout. So in order to do this, we had to build these as pre-configured non-draggable blocks so that we had some limitations for the player. When we click E, we have a legend here, which these are our num keys as well as some hotkeys for our boss and patrol points. So we can actually click these buttons to spawn different sprites or different entities, and clicking the delete key will actually delete them. We can actually left click on them and we can drag them around, and it obviously snaps to a grid on the tile, and we're unable to place them on the wall, as you can see, and we're also not allowed to place them on other entities. So each one has a unique coordinate that it can spawn at. In addition to this, we have a right click menu. So if you right click on the entity, we actually have different properties that we can edit for that entity, whether we want to increase the player's damage or health, as well as the slime's damage or health. And this actually changes the behavior, and it changes dynamically, as you can see. And now we can talk about the different behaviors. We basically can switch between a patrol and follow behavior, where you can actually use enter to set the patrol points. Essentially, you just grab this guy, and you can, once it's under patrol, you're hovering over it, and you can click enter, and it'll actually set the patrol points. And we can left click, and it should be set to the actual patrol. Following that, we also have a spike block, which you can do the same, and this is actually has a guaranteed patrol, and you cannot switch it to follow under any circumstances, because obviously it wouldn't make much sense if that was a follow. As well, we have a boss that we can spawn in the center of a room. Whenever we cannot move this, because this actually triggers a cutscene when the player walks into a room with the boss. So we actually can't change this coordinate, but we can actually delete him and move him to another room if we so desire. So in here, we can change his health as well and his damage. We're not going to do that. We're just going to traverse the rooms here. So yeah, if we actually click F2 or F3, we can actually load different level configurations. As you can see, we're still at room 0, but yet the rooms is changing. How come? Because it's actually loading one of 3 different configurations for our levels, and we can actually change the room layouts dynamically using that, which is essentially just reloading the level editor with said level layout. And that's pretty much the gist of how this works. The only thing left is basically we can click a entity and we can click spacebar to save, and it will save to our files. That is pretty much the basics of the level editor. Okay, so now we can start talking about my favorite feature of the assignment, which is the parallax. So as you can see here, if we move our mouse around the main menu screen, we have a layer of 4 layers of parallax here. So we have the one in the very, very far back, which is supposed to emulate depth by basically not making it move, or I guess making it move identically to the actual speed of the camera, which makes it emulate, obviously, not moving. This is actually being a velocity divided by 2 of the current mouse position, which means that it's actually going to look like it's not quite getting there to the camera speed, and that's supposed to emulate kind of going backwards. And this in front of us, this stalagmites here, they're doing the opposite thing. They're actually multiplying by 2. And that's essentially adding this like pseudo 3D effect in our parallax. One thing to also mention is that all of our assets for across the entire game were pretty much all created by our team. Either me or Ahmed made 99% of the assets, with the exception, I think, of 1 or 2 sound effects and the main menu music here. The other main menu, or the other dungeon music and the final boss was made by our team.
For the game options, we have several settings. So we have the volume, and it's the same logic as the sound effects as well. It can be increased or decreased. We have the game difficulty, easy, normal, and hard. So I'll start with those first. So right now, the volume, I'll make it very faint, and the difficulty will be hard. So that means the player will take twice as damage. So if I start the game, you won't hear like the volume much because it just got decreased for the music, and I'll almost die instantly because I'm taking so much damage from the enemies. But right now I'll make the music volume very loud, and I'll make the game difficulty easy, so I'll take way less damage and I'll die like in a longer time. So you can hear that the game's music is now much louder. And also, I'm now taking way less damage than half damage basically than the normal difficulty. The last option is the binding of the keys. So say I want to change like all of these keys, I can press on the up key and I can make it like T, and then I can change this to like O for the right key. We can also detect other keys like numbers, and then for the down key, for example, I can change it to like the comma or like the semicolon. So that's all the options. 2 of the features that weren't mentioned is the poison spell steering gameplay mechanism, and the frost spell, like the status and the shaders of it. So for the steering, I'm gonna show how it like basically steers near the enemy. So I'll try to like shoot it like there. It steers according to the mouse direction and smoothes the movement. And then for the frost effect and the shader, it freezes the enemy, and this is the shader as well. some of the challenges we faced and the things that we wanted to implement but couldn't get done on time is game progression level wise. So we couldn't have the levels be unlocked as it ideally should be. And the second thing is sometimes the loading of the levels that are edited from the level editor don't always work perfectly. And the third thing is the game over scene. So the scene itself is created and it's responsive, but the code that leads us to the game over scene in the you win or you lose like category isn't developed yet. But I'm just gonna show it manually. So this is the scene, and we can either choose to play again, which will bring us back to the level, or we can choose to not play again and we'll be brought back to the main menu.